Okay, we're going to be talking about Lamian now. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. I wanted to see if I can knock off two heroes. I'm going to knock off Lamia, and I'm going to knock off this Korean hero. Lamian's a little bit more straightforward. He does have a good team, but you can tell by looking at his team that his team is only good if he's the one controlling it. This is going to be a very hard team for him to win in revenges. Now, in the top levels of play, defending against revenge is huge. I want you to just. I'm not trying to brag or anything like this, but let's just look at my defenses. Defended against revenge against spirits. I defended against revenge against spirits. Is anybody that has watched any of my videos think that I have? Well, first off, you can tell right away my levels are all lower. My gear is a lot crappier. But is it easy to win? Is it possible to win? Apparently, when I'm not even controlling it, I have a chance to even beat a player like Spirits, who's built his team on all DPS heroes. He's got all these great, strong attackers that he really doesn't have any defense against certain things. And sometimes you can just get lucky and you win. Now, the player controlling player is going to have a huge advantage all the time. I'm glad that it's Spirits, not somebody that nobody knows. But defending against revenge, like Fly, if I said, hey, look at Fly Jude, nobody would have known anything, but everybody knows Spirits. But defending against revenge is so important. Basically what this means is they attacked me, they lost one of their swords, they lost points for attacking me and losing. When you lose, you get killed in how many points you lose. Sometimes you lose against people like if you're in the top ranks, you might lose against somebody who's they came up in your queue. You're trying to refresh to get as many swords as possible, and you fought somebody with like 300 points less than you, and they had some lucky dodges, some lucky crits, whatever happened. You made a misclick, or you hit end turn instead of your third skill. I do that all the time. Usually when I hit end turn on Jenny and I don't use my third skill by accident, I've never lost even after doing that. That's just how easy it is to win as the player controller. But to be able to pinch a win here, a win there, and by defending against revenge is huge because it gives you points. They lose points. It does so much indirect damage. It's amazing. But some characters or some people are just incapable of building their team like that, and Lamian is one of those people in my opinion. Now, he's got a good team, he's got really good gear, he's obviously very committed to this because you just don't get to rank 1 because you sit and you pay money. That's just not a thing. Now, he does have some really good gear sets. He's clearly spent a good amount of money on this game. Almost all of his characters that he's using are pretty decked out in gear. In terms of sets, looks like Chenny's a work in progress, but 1, 2, 2.5. Once that ghost step set gets put together, Chenny's going to be a beast. Look at Cleo for a minute. Pink Ranger. Oh, only one piece of the Red Ranger set. Or that would have been a. See, these are things that are not good for characters like Cleo that are really easy to one shot. They're not a gain this every turn kind of hero, if you know what I mean. And Jack would be great with it. Jack, like, honestly, I think if you had a Jack with all of the Ranger sets on it, that would be cool. I wouldn't say it's the best set to put on them, but they would be very functional on Jack. Now, the more that I'm looking at him, I think that he's more on the same level as me in terms of what his sets are, and with good luck and bad luck where he's been at. I think he's got a few better pieces than me. But we're basically around the same level in terms of spending, at least in terms of the results. I'm just judging it out by the averages here. Though this Dominique makes it look very convincing of the opposite of that. Maybe look at some of his other characters, see if he's hiding any other sets. Oh, there's one right there. So he might have some other sets on other characters that he's just got off, and because another one. Oh, I guess he's got a few of those, I guess. But I have very few sets, but the ones that I do have are very impactful sets. Oh, I don't know why he's got so much. I guess he's just trying to build the super tank Chris with all the White Knight gear. Anyway, but his team is kind of built properly and kind of not built properly. So I believe DPS, a tankier DPS, because you're not usually going to be able to attack with it if everything goes perfectly for both the DPS and the other team, and a tank are the best formation. Maybe sometime in the future I would switch to DPS, tank if everybody's characters get to be super powered, and just no defensive, offensive character is going to be able to fill that slot without getting completely annihilated and without specializing in a defensive stat. But he's got Chenny in the third slot. I think Chenny is the queen of slot 1. Now, he's probably done this because he's clearly stacked his Dominique and he wants to make a dodge twink out of her. But the problem that he's going to have here is his other heroes are all very easy to kill. Jack, you don't even need to fight with Jack on the bridge map. Just walk to another lane. If you're not even going to waste a turn, he's going to waste a turn. It balances out completely. If you have a ghost step on your first character, because if you have a ghost step, I do highly recommend that you put it on your best attacker, which is normally going to be like his Dom, your first character. You could probably go into the other lane and kill the person in the other lane, and then Jack just loses a turn. You gain tempo like that instead of losing it. Like, there's so many things to do around Jack, but Jack is just not a good PvP hero. Chenny is, her passive is a 23% attack buff. Putting her in the third slot is like asking her to be attacked to have her buff turned off. I don't understand the position of this character here. But I think it's just because he has this idea where he wants Dom to he wants the dodge twink to work. Now, what's the problem with dodge twinks, if you don't know? Hit rate is really, really easy to get. Dodge is impossible to get after 60%. It's easier to get 61% hit than it is to get, you know what, it's easier to get 91% hit than it is to get 61% dodge. And you're not going to be able to make a character that has 100% perfect dodge rate forever. If they became the mainstream, they would be the mainstream for 3 days, and by the end of the week, everybody would have swords and rings and just really good potentials on those things. And they would have the same damage, huge hit rate, great crit rate as a byproduct of stacking the hit with the rings. And now you have these super critical characters that your squishy characters can't avoid at all. So I think Dominique was a cool character, but they probably need to readjust the way that dodge works in this game if they're going to make dodge twinks a real thing. Because she's just not, I don't think she's viable anymore. I put her actually at tier 3, not even tier 2. And I wouldn't even put her as a slot 1 hero too. She would be a decent slot 2, but again, like tier 3. Carrot would be a better tier slot 2, and so is Serendi. Serendi is definitely the best slot 2 hero in the game. Cleo, it's like I was saying before, this team looks really good if you were the one controlling everything. The only thing I would like to see change is Chenny switch with Dominique, and maybe you should superpower the Chenny instead of the Dominique, because Chenny is more consistent, and you can count on what she does consistently all the time to be what she does all the time. It's easier to do damage with scissor characters to other scissor characters and to other paper characters than it is easy for rock characters to do damage, because most good players run enough anti-rock to do things that if you're not Kai and you can't ignore a huge amount of percent of defense, it's just not going to be noticeable. We're going to move on here. Probably ranting too much here. I think I will just do one here at a time. I'm going to start that one here, and then we'll do this Korean character with the Lena next. Stop.